One of the mysteries, I think, with painting is artistic license. When to use it, when not, when to leave an area alone or an idea alone, or when we have a pretty sound and interesting subject, but it's just not resonating for me. That can be the way to take your painting to the next level. I've always felt I do love to get signs of life in my paintings, and it may be just a little wisp of smoke, or it might be a chicken or a cow or something. It might be just even small. I think it improves the scene in many ways. Some of the ones are, one, it might help with perspective and but also strengthening our focal points. It's something that now with Procreate I'm able to do a lot more often, a lot faster, a lot easier, to really sort of enhance the raw ingredients. And when you think of a painting, whether you're painting on site or not, to me that's the raw ingredients. If I was a chef, that would be my flour, salt, pepper, all the ingredients. And it's a matter of then just knowing how much of each of those ingredients that I need to do to make that meal or that cake. Okay, so what I've got the original scene here, pretty well untouched except for being cropped down from the original photo. And I do love hay and haystacks and the hay bales, but the main concern was, other than sort of in this foreground, there's not really many other places that I really find that I can really sort of anchor the viewer's eye. Of course, there's a nice little shadow there, but the one trouble is that's just a shadow. Normally our eye is more visually excited by a light, even though the midtones and darks are just as important, especially to get that attitude and as to know where the light's coming from, and the shadow will show where it's going to. So what I've done with the power of Photoshop, these chickens are actually from my parents' property. They've got sort of 45 acres and the chickens most of the time run free range. And so when I was there last, it was a nice sunny day, similar sort of grass. And that's probably the crucial thing, is when we're sort of enhancing something or taking something out, is it's going to be believable. So we need to get shapes, the inclusions, the cows, the chickens, the tractors, whatever it might be, to make sure that they are coming from the same light. Because you can always reverse sort of things. You can have light coming from the right on the chickens, but light coming from the left. And a lot of times you can just flip them, which is another little great asset with modern technology. But I also have bought in, because that power pole was further to the right, and you can actually see that I've just blurred a few little things. Had to bring in a little bit of grass for these. That's actually more my sort of little doing. So yes, and I've just even done a little bit of work up there. That looks like it was just a little bit of an awkward shape. So there we have the finished painting, quite similar to the amended, the adjusted, the one that I've put the artistic spin on, really, more than artistic license, I think, with this one. And the other great thing is with Procreate and the digital devices is that I can be doing paintings ahead of time, or ideas, ahead of time, thinking, okay, don't have time to do that one, want to do it smaller, want to do it bigger, so I'll need an X amount of time to get the execution done. So that's the beauty, is that we can be doing these in your spare time as well, and that's quite often I will do them after I'm painting, or sometimes early in the morning before I start painting. So that, I think, really did raise this scene and this subject to another level, which I thought was just so enjoyable to be able to enhance something like that. And it's something actually that I'd been doing for years. When I started painting, even when I was starting just with drawing, that's what I did mostly when I was doing my early plein air work or outdoor work, and I'd be drawing away or painting away and thinking, you know what, this needs something more, or something that's really going to drive the narrative, drive the visual story, because ultimately that's what we're doing. We have the one image. It's almost it's a snapshot, and it's a matter of getting the most out of it. So the one thing that I would like to do with this one is I would remove some of that vine there. I don't think it's needed, don't think it's necessary. As you can see, the camera has distorted the angles. So that'll be something that I'll look at adjusting before I paint it. So that would be one area. And my other worry is just the sheer length of this. So I would probably bring that down at least to there. It needs to cover the bottom of the door there. But the thing I do love is this light coming through here. And once again, I'll probably trim that little guy off. I don't think I'll be putting that angle on that guy, or I could be leaving that out. And these are all the things that I think we need to train ourselves to think, where are the strong points? Where are the weak points? I need to enhance the weaker areas or the troublesome areas. And sometimes it's that focal point that you just want to enhance a little more. Or like with this one, I think there's beautiful light on it. The shapes just need a little bit of rearranging. And because it's in a building, that little line there is going to be a bit of a concern that there's a tendency for me to actually sometimes do certain lines, especially in the foreground, a little too hard, a little too strong. So it'll be a little bit of a delicate balance just to get that movement, that rhythm, the eye to travel, but definitely huge focal area, another big focal area, and that's that primary sort of focal area. So we've got that triangulation, the golden mean working for us beautifully. And with this next one, which we're going to travel to staves, is the main concern is the big strong horizontal line there. And sometimes it doesn't really take a great deal to fix something. Probably the other area or concern is that we have a shape there which looks like they've reinforced the wall there with bricks, and then we've got a shape here, we've got another shape there, then we've got the grassy sort of bit, and then we have another little shape here, then a nice little shadow there, but then another shape. So I would be unifying most of that. I'd almost probably be tempted to leave that brickwork out, even though the locals and people have been to staves, I've seen it and noticed it there quite often, and it is definitely there. So that's where we need to step beyond reality and what's there, and make sure that we're working with the process, that we're trying to build an image, build a painting, build an idea, a concept, where all the background's pretty good. Some big sort of boring shapes here, so that's something that the bigger that this painting went, the more of a concern that would be. And there's a little bridge just on this side, so technically I shouldn't be putting masts in or anything, even though these little boats possibly don't have a mast. I think they're more rowboats. That's pretty well it. And quite often with certain subjects, it's the horizontal line that we normally need to do quite a bit with, especially with landscapes and seascapes. If we have a line that's too long, it's at risk of looking a little visually boring. My eye's getting a little trapped up here as well for a little too long, so I'd probably bring that foliage across to tie that as one big shape. And then I'll just watch this diagonal line. I'd make sure that I'm just breaking that as often as possible. And there's some little figures on the beach there, so that's gonna go well, but I'll almost be tempted to put a little yacht just in there as well, just to build up another layer of depth, another layer of distance as well there. So this is a landscape, and actually that's probably one of the areas that I should definitely mention, is that a lot of times street scenes, interiors, boats, bridges, those really high dynamic scenes, a lot of times we've got to try and find them just right, because if we go leaving a pillar out from a bridge because it's kind of a little awkward, well then that bridge in reality would collapse, and that we're just stretching the reality or the perception of reality a little too far. So that's where landscapes, seascapes are probably more prone and more quite often are requiring more artistic license adjustments. So this was a lovely little scene in the upper Murray River area. And the interesting thing is there's a beautiful little passage right over to the right there. We've got the road coming in, and you can see how detached they are, the distance. We've got a nice little orangey tree there, shadow there, so we can play stuff up. So what I would quite simply do, maybe I'll, when I get the chance to paint this one, I'll do it with Procreate, just leapfrog that shape, not so much in the middle, but Let me just get rid of those. I'd probably leapfrogging more to about there and just let the eye have little to no information there, because it is a long way to stretch. Because when we think in terms of our 4 primary golden mean points, anything that is out of those areas, we do need to start to question how much emphasis do we need that shape. And for me, the golden rule is to try and get the 3 primary focal points, because we definitely don't need 4, because then that makes a rectangle or a square. Triangles are king. They're our absolute ruler. So we more want those. And then the idea is to think of anything outside as if it's going to fall in. So directional lines will help push the eye in. The fence will help push the eye in. That guy, the subtle one there, even this line here, everything wants to, almost as a bathtub would drain. We want it to drain to that primary focal area. Lucky last, this was one from Colorado. I haven't been to this area for quite a while, and I've done some of the paintings of cows and some of the mountains, but I haven't really painted any of these buildings, and always felt the buildings were great, even though this one was kind of more like an arched, almost like an old-fashioned building that they would put the little planes in the First and Second World War. It's just an awkward shape, so that's something that I would be using a bit of the artistic license. But the big one is, I've actually, from another photo, I've popped this haystack in, because basically it was a super duper mid-distance, little too complex actually distance, but it was always the foreground. And the other great trick with when we're adding something is try and think of it as being quite a decent size shape, something that is going to be big enough to grab the viewer's eye, grab their attention. And this is probably the classic one. Not so much with the chickens, they're smaller, but they're still going to grab the viewer's eye. And that's leads into another good way of composition. If we do grab, say, a composition that just has big shapes, we then can just drop a few small shapes around them. So it's the big shapes that are holding the painting together. Then we don't need as big a shapes to enhance that. So it's something that, as I've always sort of thought, I was doing this in my mind as I was painting, but it never really had a name. And then when they invented and brought out Photoshop, so technically I was photoshopping in my mind. People like to think of it as artistic license and all that. But to me, I was seeing the raw material and then thinking of the possibilities. What can I do with this? How can I create a really memorable image? So hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. All the best. Bye for now.